She wasn't sick. She was being poisoned. For years, everyone thought this 7-year-old girl was beyond help, violent, unstable, untreatable. 13 nannies quit. Doctors gave up. Her billionaire father was ready to send her away forever. But I found the pills. And when I discovered what was really in them, I realized this wasn't a behavioral disorder. It was murder in slow motion. Someone was destroying this child on purpose. And when I tried to expose the truth, they tried to destroy me too. Welcome to the story room. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. You know, sometimes the people who change our lives show up in the most ordinary places. This is a story about that kind of moment. It was a Tuesday morning at Rosie's coffee shop in downtown Seattle. The kind of morning where the rain wouldn't stop and everyone seemed to be in a bad mood. Sarah Bennett was wiping down tables, her back aching from another double shift. She was 26 years old, but life had aged her. 2 years ago, she'd been studying to become a teacher. Then her mom got sick, and Sarah had to drop out to pay for the medical bills. Now she served coffee and scrambled eggs, always one paycheck away from losing everything. That morning, the bell above the door rang, and everyone in the coffee shop went quiet. Walking in was Daniel Cross, the tech genius who'd built half of Seattle's skyline. His company designed the software that ran in millions of homes. You'd see his face on magazine covers at the grocery store. But today, he looked exhausted, stressed. And trailing behind him, dragging a stuffed rabbit through the rain puddles, was his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Lily Cross looked like a little princess in her expensive coat, blonde hair in perfect curls. But her face wore an expression that made Sarah's heart hurt. It was anger mixed with sadness, the look of a child who'd given up on being heard. Behind them came a nervous woman in a gray uniform. The nanny, probably. The 13th one, people would whisper later. They sat in the corner booth. Sarah approached with her notepad. No fake smile, just honest tiredness. Coffee, she asked Daniel. Black. Strong. Please, he said, not looking up from his phone. Sarah turned to Lily. And what can I get for you, sweetheart? The little girl's eyes flashed. I want hot chocolate. In a real mug, not paper. And if it's not perfect, I'm going to pour it on the floor. The coffee shop went silent. Every customer turned to watch. The nanny looked terrified. Daniel looked embarrassed, but too tired to deal with it. Sarah looked at this 7-year-old child making threats. Most people would have gotten angry or called the manager. But Sarah saw something else. She saw a little girl testing to see if anyone cared enough to set boundaries. We only use paper cups for kids, Sarah said calmly. It's safer. I'm not a kid, Lily snapped. I'm a Cross. Bring me the real mug. Daniel sighed. Just do it, please. I'll pay if she breaks it. Sarah hesitated. Every instinct told her this was wrong. But she needed this job. She brought the hot chocolate in a ceramic mug. Lily stared at it. She looked at her father, who was typing on his phone. She looked at the nanny, who was shaking. Then she looked at Sarah. With one slow, deliberate push, she knocked the mug off the table. It shattered. Hot chocolate splashed across Sarah's worn-out shoes and jeans. Everyone gasped. Daniel jumped up. Lily, it was too hot, the little girl said coldly, crossing her arms. Clean it up. That's your job. Something shifted in Sarah at that moment. She was tired of being treated like she didn't matter. Tired of watching entitled people teach their children that working people were invisible. Sarah pulled a chair over and sat down directly across from Lily. Not next to Daniel. Directly facing the child. What are you doing? Daniel asked, shocked. Sarah ignored him. She locked eyes with Lily. You made this mess. So what? Lily said. You're the waitress. I'm a waitress, Sarah agreed. Not your servant. And you're old enough to clean up after yourself. Sarah pulled a clean towel from her apron and placed it on the table in front of Lily. Clean it up, Sarah said. Excuse me, Daniel started. Sir, with respect, your money is teaching her that she can treat people like trash. If you clean it up, she learns that being rich means never facing consequences. If I clean it up, She learns that working people don't deserve respect. Sarah turned back to Lily. Clean it up, or I'm taking that rabbit. Lily's eyes went wide with genuine fear. You can't touch my things. Watch me. Sarah reached for the stuffed animal. Daddy, Lily screamed. Fire her. Make her go away. Daniel stood frozen. He looked at his daughter, then at Sarah. He saw something in this tired waitress's eyes that he hadn't seen in any of the expensive specialists. He saw someone who actually cared enough to say no. Clean it up, Lily, Daniel said quietly. The betrayal on Lily's face was complete. But slowly, trembling with anger, she grabbed the towel. She slid out of the booth and got on her knees. For 3 long minutes, the only sound was a 7-year-old girl sniffling as she wiped up hot chocolate from the floor. She did a terrible job, smearing it everywhere. But she did it. When she stood up, hands sticky and face red, Sarah nodded. Good job. Now sit down. Sarah stood up and walked away to get their check. When she came back to clear the table later, there was no cash tip. Instead, there was a business card with handwriting on the back. I don't know who you are, but I need you. Call me tonight. Daniel Cross. Sarah stared at that card for hours. In her tiny apartment that night, with the heat barely working and medical bills piled on the counter, she made the call that would change everything. The Cross estate wasn't just a house. It was a fortress on the outskirts of Seattle, hidden behind iron gates and security cameras. As Sarah drove her beat-up Honda up the long driveway, she felt like she was entering another world. A butler answered the door and led her through hallways that felt cold despite the expensive artwork on the walls. No family photos. No children's toys scattered around. Just perfection. Empty perfection. Daniel was waiting in his office, and standing next to him was a woman who made Sarah's skin crawl. Victoria Hammond. She managed the household and Lily's schedule, and she looked at Sarah like she was something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. This is the coffee shop worker? Victoria said, her voice dripping with disdain. Nice to meet you too, Sarah replied. Daniel got straight to business. Sarah, I need help. Lily's mother died when she was 3. Since then, it's been impossible. We've had 13 nannies in 2 years. Lily attacks them, breaks their things, makes them cry. The psychologists say she has severe behavioral disorders. They want to send her to a special boarding school in Switzerland next year. She's 7, Sarah said. She's not broken. She's hurting. She's dangerous. Victoria cut in. The last nanny left with a black eye. Daniel continued. I'm offering you a job. Live here. Be her primary caretaker. $150,000 a year. Sarah's breath caught. That was life-changing money. That was her mother's medical bills paid off. That was her future back. But, Daniel added, you have complete control over Lily's care. You don't answer to Victoria about discipline. Only to me. Victoria's jaw tightened. She hated this. Can I meet her first? Sarah asked. They led her upstairs to Lily's room. It looked like a tornado had hit it. Toys destroyed. Books ripped apart. And in the middle of the chaos sat Lily, using scissors to cut up expensive dolls. She looked up when Sarah walked in. You again? My dad hired the coffee lady? That's pathetic. Sarah didn't respond. She just found a beanbag chair, kicked aside some broken toys, and sat down. She pulled out a book from her pocket and started reading. Lily stared. What are you doing? Reading. You're supposed to tell me what to do. Or try to play with me. Or ask about my feelings. I'm not getting paid yet, Sarah said, not looking up. So right now, I'm just hanging out. Lily stood up, confused and angry. She grabbed a wooden block and threw it. It missed Sarah's head by inches. You missed, Sarah said calmly, still reading. Lily screamed in frustration. She grabbed a bottle of red paint. I'm going to ruin your clothes. These cost $4 at the thrift store, Sarah said. Go ahead. Lily froze. Nothing was working. The power she usually had over adults was gone. She dropped the paint bottle. Why aren't you scared of me? Lily whispered. Sarah finally closed her book and looked at the little girl. Really looked at her. She saw the dark circles under her eyes. The way her hands trembled. Because I know a secret, Sarah said softly. Lily stepped closer, curious. What secret? You're not mean. You're just lonely. And really, really tired. For 1 second, Lily's face crumpled. The mask slipped. But then the door opened. Victoria stood there, watching with cold eyes. Immediately, Lily's face hardened again. I hate her, she screamed at Daniel, who appeared behind Victoria. She's terrible. I saw everything, Victoria said smoothly. Mr. Cross, this woman threatened Lily. Daniel looked confused, torn. But then Lily spoke again, quieter this time. She didn't threaten me. She just read a book. Victoria's smile vanished. I want her to stay, Lily said, looking at her father. I want the coffee lady. Daniel let out a breath he'd been holding for years. Sarah, can you start tonight? Sarah looked at Victoria's cold, angry eyes. She looked at Lily, a small, scared child lost in a giant house. She thought about walking away, but something told her this little girl needed her. I'll go pack my bag, Sarah said. She had no idea she'd just walked into a war zone. The first week was psychological warfare. Lily didn't throw tantrums. She didn't scream. She simply ghosted Sarah. If Sarah entered a room, Lily left. If Sarah asked a question, Lily stared through her like she was invisible. It was disturbing for a 7-year-old. This was learned behavior from someone who'd been hurt too many times. But the real enemy wasn't the child. It was Victoria Hammond. Victoria ran the house like a military general. Every minute of Lily's day was scheduled. French lessons at 8. Piano at 9. Etiquette training at 11. The little girl was being programmed, not raised. Lily is behind on her French verbs, Victoria told Sarah on the third morning, handing her a thick binder. Make sure she studies during her free hour. No television. No playing. Sarah took the binder, walked over to the kitchen trash compactor, and dropped it in. Victoria gasped. What do you think you're doing? Lily is 7, Sarah said. She doesn't need to study during her free time. She needs to play in the dirt. Mr. Cross will hear about this. Good, Sarah said. Tell him. That afternoon, it started raining. A heavy downpour that turned the perfect gardens into mud. Lily was sitting in the sunroom, staring out the window, looking miserable in a stiff velvet dress. Sarah walked in wearing jeans and an old hoodie. Come on. Lily didn't look up. Go away. I'm going outside to jump in puddles. I need a partner. Lily looked at her like she was crazy. We're not allowed outside when it rains. We'll get sick, Victoria says. Victoria isn't here, Sarah interrupted. And rain is just water. Sarah grabbed 2 rain jackets and tossed one to Lily. For a moment, the girl hesitated. Fear of breaking the rules was written all over her face. But then she looked at Sarah, who was already opening the door. Lily followed. For 20 minutes, they weren't employee and child. They were just 2 people escaping a prison. They jumped in puddles. Sarah showed Lily how to find worms. Lily slipped and fell face first into the mud, ruining her expensive dress. She froze, waiting for the yelling, waiting for punishment. Sarah just laughed. 10 points for style. A sound came out of Lily's throat. A rusty, unfamiliar sound. A giggle. They walked back inside, dripping wet and covered in mud. They were laughing until they saw who was standing in the kitchen. Daniel and Victoria. Victoria looked triumphant. You see, sir? She's endangering the child. Look at them. They're filthy. Daniel looked at his daughter. He saw the mud, the ruined dress, and then he saw something he hadn't seen in years. Lily was smiling, but the smile vanished when she saw his serious face. She shrank back. Daddy, Lily started, terrified. She's soaked to the bone, Daniel said, his voice hard. Sarah, what were you thinking? We were playing, Sarah said, standing in front of Lily protectively. She has a weak immune system, Victoria said quickly. She was hospitalized for pneumonia last year. This is dangerous. Daniel's face darkened. Is that true? I didn't know, Sarah admitted. But she's fine. We were only out there 20 minutes. Go change her, Daniel snapped. And meet me in my study. Victoria smirked. Sarah took Lily upstairs. The girl was shaking, but not from cold. "He's going to fire you," Lily whispered. "Everyone leaves." "I'm not leaving," Sarah promised. Sarah went to the study. She didn't knock.
She walked right in.
Daniel was pouring a drink. "You have no idea how fragile she is, Sarah. Her mother died of a respiratory illness. I can't lose Lily, too." "You're losing her right now," Sarah said bluntly. Daniel turned. "Excuse me? You're worried about her lungs? You should worry about her spirit. That little girl is terrified of you. She thinks you hate her." "I give her everything," Daniel shouted. "This house. The best education." "You give her things," Sarah said, stepping closer. "But you don't give her you. And you leave her with that woman. Victoria doesn't care about Lily. She cares about control. Victoria raised me. She's been with this family for 20 years. Then she did a terrible job," Sarah snapped. "Because you're blind." Lily giggled today, Daniel. She laughed. "When's the last time you heard your daughter laugh?" Daniel fell silent. The anger drained away, replaced by exhaustion and sadness. "I don't know how to talk to her," he whispered. "Every time I try, she runs away." "Because she's being medicated," Sarah said. It was a guess, but something had been bothering her for days. Daniel frowned. "She takes vitamins. The doctor prescribed them." "Who gives her the pills?" "Victoria." "Stop the pills," Sarah said firmly. "For 1 week. Let me handle her schedule. If she's not better in 7 days, I'll leave." Daniel looked at this coffee shop waitress standing in his study, covered in mud, telling him what to do. He saw the fire in her eyes. 1 week, he agreed. "But if she gets sick, you're done." The next morning, Sarah intercepted Victoria in the hallway. The older woman was carrying a tray with juice and 2 small pink pills. "I'll take those," Sarah said, blocking the door. Victoria's eyes flashed with rage. "These are her morning vitamins." "Not anymore. Daniel and I talked. No more pills for a week." Victoria gripped the tray tighter. "Without these, she becomes violent. You're making a terrible mistake." "I'll take my chances." Sarah took the tray and flushed the pills down the toilet. Victoria watched, her face a mask of cold fury. "You will regret this," she whispered. The first 2 days were brutal. Lily was irritable and couldn't sleep. She threw things. She bit Sarah's arm once. But Sarah didn't yell. She didn't lock Lily away. She just waited, offering hugs when Lily would accept them. By Thursday, something changed. Sarah woke up to the smell of burnt toast. She ran downstairs to find Lily standing on a stool in the kitchen, trying to reach the jam.
"I'm hungry," Lily said.
Her eyes were clear. The dark circles were fading. "Let's make pancakes," Sarah said. "My way." Messy. They blasted music. They got flour on the ceiling. And right in the middle of it, Daniel walked in.
He stopped.
He smelled the pancakes. He heard the music. He saw his daughter dancing with a spatula. "Daddy." Lily didn't run away. She held up a burnt, deformed pancake. "I made this. It looks like a monster." Daniel stood frozen. Sarah nudged him. "Eat the monster, Mr. Cross." He took a bite of the terrible pancake. "It's delicious, Lily." Lily beamed. But in the doorway, watching them, was Victoria. And her eyes promised revenge. That night, Sarah decided to investigate. Something wasn't right about those pills. She waited until the house was asleep, then crept downstairs to Victoria's office, a small room off the kitchen. The door was unlocked. Sarah used her phone as a flashlight and started looking through files. That's when she found it. Hidden in a folder marked Medical Records was a receipt from an overseas pharmacy. The medications listed made Sarah's blood run cold. She'd studied enough nursing to recognize them. These weren't vitamins. One was a strong amphetamine, basically medical-grade speed. The other was a heavy antipsychotic used for severe mental illness. Victoria had been giving Lily uppers to make her aggressive during the day and downers to knock her out at night. She was chemically creating a behavioral disorder in a healthy child.
But why?
Sarah kept digging. She found bank statements. Victoria received $20,000 every month as a special needs care stipend from the Cross Family Trust. If Lily was cured or sent to regular school, Victoria lost that money. If Lily stayed sick and unmanageable, Victoria stayed essential and the money kept flowing. She was poisoning a child for a paycheck. Sarah felt sick. She grabbed the papers, her hands shaking. She needed to show Daniel immediately. She turned to leave, and the light flicked on. Victoria stood in the doorway, wearing a silk robe. In her hand, she held a heavy brass bookend. "I knew you were trouble," Victoria said softly. "People like you always go snooping where you don't belong." "You're poisoning her," Sarah said, backing up. "I have proof." "Daniel believes what I tell him to believe," Victoria said, stepping forward. "I've been with this family for 20 years. You're just a coffee shop girl who'll be gone by morning." Victoria raised the bookend and lunged. Sarah dodged, but the heavy brass caught her shoulder, sending pain shooting down her arm. She stumbled, knocking over files. Victoria suddenly started screaming. "Help! Fire! She's attacking me!" She dropped the bookend and scratched her own face with her nails, drawing blood. "What are you?" Sarah gasped. "Changing the story," Victoria hissed. Heavy footsteps pounded down the hall. Security guards burst in, followed by Daniel in his pajamas. "She attacked me," Victoria sobbed, pointing at Sarah. "I caught her stealing medical files. She hit me." Daniel looked at Victoria, bleeding. He looked at Sarah, holding the papers, looking guilty. "Sarah?" Daniel's voice broke. "What did you do?" "I found the poison," Sarah said desperately. "Daniel, I found out why Lily's been sick. Check the pills. Check the bank accounts." But Victoria lunged forward and ripped the papers from Sarah's hands. She tore them into pieces, throwing them in the air like confetti. "Take her away," Victoria told the guards.
No.
"Daniel, listen to me." Sarah screamed as she was dragged from the room. "Check the pills. She's been drugging Lily." Daniel stood in the center of the office, surrounded by torn paper. He looked at Victoria, crying on the floor. Then he looked down. One small scrap of paper had landed on his shoe. He picked it up. It was part of the pharmacy receipt. He read the medication name. His face went pale. "Victoria," he said quietly. "What is haloperidol?" Victoria froze. It's a vitamin complex." "No," Daniel said, his voice turning to ice. "It's not." But Sarah was already being taken away. The holding cell smelled like disinfectant and defeat. Sarah sat on the metal bench for 6 hours, replaying everything in her mind. She'd failed. Lily would think she'd abandoned her, just like everyone else. She used her one phone call to beg the nursing home not to evict her mother. But while Sarah sat in that cell, something was happening at the Cross estate. Daniel hadn't slept. He'd driven to the family doctor in the middle of the night with that scrap of paper and a sample of the vitamins from Lily's medicine cabinet. The doctor ran tests. When the results came back, the doctor looked horrified. "Daniel, this is a cocktail of antipsychotics and amphetamines. This could cause permanent brain damage in a child." "Who prescribed this?" "No one," Daniel whispered. "Victoria did this." "Call the police." "Not yet," Daniel said, his eyes hardening. "I have a charity gala tomorrow night. The press will be there. Board members. Investors. Victoria loves the spotlight. I'm going to give her a show she'll never forget." At dawn, the cell door opened. "Bennett, you made bail." Sarah walked out expecting a bail bondsman. Instead, she saw Daniel Cross leaning against the wall, looking like he hadn't slept in days.
She stopped.
"Did you come to make sure I left town?" Daniel walked over to her. He didn't care that people were watching. He dropped to his knees on the dirty floor. "Sarah, I'm so sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "You were right about everything." "Is Lily okay?" Sarah asked immediately. Not "am I fired?" Not "where's my money?" Just "is Lily okay?" "She's alive," Daniel said, standing. "But Victoria has her." "Sarah, I have a plan. But I need you to come back. One last time." The annual Cross Foundation Gala was the biggest event of the Seattle social season. The estate was transformed. Luxury cars lined the driveway. Photographers crowded the red carpet. Inside, Victoria was in her element, wearing an expensive gown, directing staff with sharp commands. She felt invincible. The coffee shop girl was gone. Daniel was back under control. The money was safe. She went upstairs to get Lily. The little girl was sitting on her bed in a frilly dress, staring at nothing. Her pupils were dilated. She was heavily medicated. Up, Victoria snapped. Time to smile for the cameras. Downstairs, hidden among the catering staff, was a woman with dark hair pulled back, wearing the standard server's uniform. Sarah kept her head down, moving through the crowd. She made her way to the backstage area. Daniel was there, adjusting his microphone. He saw her and nodded. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer boomed. "Please welcome Daniel Cross." Applause filled the room. Daniel walked onto the stage and looked at the sea of wealthy, powerful faces. "Thank you," he began. "Tonight is about the future, about protecting the innocent." He gestured to the side. Victoria walked out, holding Lily's hand. The crowd cooed at the beautiful child, but Lily stumbled. Victoria yanked her arm up roughly, smiling through gritted teeth. "Wave, darling." Lily lifted a heavy hand. She looked terrified and drugged. "For years," Daniel continued, going off script, "I thought my daughter was sick. I was told she was broken, that she needed medication and strict discipline." Victoria stiffened. She looked at Daniel sharply. "But recently," Daniel's voice gained strength, "I learned that sickness can be manufactured. That monsters don't live under beds. They live in staff quarters." Victoria's eyes went wide. She tried to pull Lily off stage. "Come along." "Stay where you are, Victoria," Daniel commanded. The room went dead silent. "What is the meaning of this?" Victoria demanded, trying to maintain dignity. "This," Daniel said, pointing to the large screen behind him. The screen flickered. Hidden camera footage began playing. Victoria crushing pills into Lily's food. Audio. "Eat it, you wretched girl. If you tell your father, I'll tell him you're crazy." The crowd gasped. A collective intake of horror. "That's fake." Victoria screamed. "That's edited." "Is it?" Daniel asked. "What about the bank transfers? The $20,000 a month you've been stealing? The overseas pharmacy receipts?" Victoria looked around. The crowd was staring at her with disgust. Her perfect mask was shattering. "You ungrateful man," she shrieked. "I raised you. That girl is a demon. She needs those pills." She lunged at Lily, grabbing the girl's shoulders. Tell them how bad you are." Lily whimpered, too weak to fight. Suddenly, Sarah sprinted from the wings. She tackled Victoria with the force of pure protective rage, sending them both crashing into the flower arrangements. "Get off her," Sarah yelled. Security rushed forward, not to grab Sarah, but to grab Victoria. Daniel ran to Lily and scooped her up in his arms. "I've got you, baby. She can't hurt you anymore." Sarah stood up, breathing hard. The entire room was staring at her. Victoria was dragged away, screaming and kicking. Daniel looked at the shocked crowd. "Everyone leave," he said. "Get out." The guests scattered. Within minutes, the ballroom was empty. Just Daniel holding Lily and Sarah standing among the abandoned tables. Lily lifted her head from her father's shoulder. Her eyes were groggy, but she recognized her friend. "Sarah," she whispered, "did you beat the bad lady?" Sarah smiled through her tears. "Yeah, kid. I beat the bad lady." Lily reached out her arms. Sarah took the little girl, and Lily finally let go. She sobbed, not a tantrum, just pure, heartbreaking relief. Daniel watched them, knowing the war was won, but the healing had just begun. Epilogue. 6 months later. Snow was falling softly on Seattle. It had been 6 months since the gala, the night the media called the red carpet revelation. The Cross estate no longer looked like a fortress. There was a lopsided snowman in the front yard wearing one of Daniel's expensive scarves. The windows were open, letting in light. Inside, the kitchen was covered in flour. Sarah was teaching Lily how to make pizza dough. Lily, now healthy with rosy cheeks and bright eyes, was laughing as she threw dough at the wall. "It stuck," she cheered. Daniel sat at the counter, not in a suit but in a sweater and jeans, watching the two most important people in his life. The recovery hadn't been easy. That first month after the gala was a nightmare. Lily went through withdrawals. There were nights of shaking and terror when she thought Victoria was coming back. Sarah hadn't left her side. She moved a cot into Lily's room. She held the girl's hand through the fevers. She sang until her voice gave out. Daniel had canceled all his business trips. For the first time, he learned how to be a father. Justice had been swift. Victoria was arrested for fraud, embezzlement, and child endangerment. She would spend the rest of her life in federal prison. "Hey," Sarah said, wiping her hands. "Earth to tech genius. You're staring." Daniel smiled. "I'm admiring." He stood and walked over. "I have a surprise. Go get changed. Somewhere special." An hour later, their car pulled up to a familiar place. The neon sign buzzed in the twilight. Rosie's coffee shop. Sarah gasped. "Daniel, why here?" "We have unfinished business." They walked inside and took the same corner booth where they'd met. Lily slid in, confident and happy. "Sarah," Lily said, "I want a hot chocolate in a real mug." Sarah grinned. "You got it, kid." When the order arrived, Lily stared at the ceramic mug. She looked at Sarah with mischief in her eyes and pretended to push it off the table. Daniel flinched. Sarah didn't. Lily laughed. "Just kidding, Dad." Daniel exhaled, shaking his head. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Sarah froze. "Sarah," Daniel said, his voice steady but emotional. "You saved my daughter. You saved me. You walked into a house of darkness and brought light. You're not our employee. You're our family." He opened the box. A simple, elegant sapphire ring. "I don't want a nanny," Daniel said. "I want a partner. I want a mother for Lily. Will you marry us?" Sarah looked at the ring, then at Lily, who was bouncing in her seat. "Say yes. Say yes." Sarah laughed, tears spilling over. She looked at the man who learned to love again, and the little girl who learned to live again. "Yes," she whispered. "I'll marry you." The coffee shop erupted in applause. Lily cheered and hugged them both. As they sat there, now a family, Sarah looked out the window. She thought about the day she had $3 in her bank account. She thought about how people dismissed her as just a waitress. She realized then that titles don't matter. Degrees, money, credentials, they all failed because they treated Lily like a problem. Sarah succeeded because she treated Lily like a human being. Love, it turned out, was the only thing that mattered. Daniel and Sarah married 3 months later in the garden, with Lily as the flower girl. They started a foundation to help children wrongly diagnosed with behavioral disorders, making sure no child would suffer in silence again. And sometimes, on Sunday mornings, you can still find them at Rosie's coffee shop. Sarah orders coffee. Lily gets hot chocolate in a real mug. Daniel smiles watching his family. Because they learned that sometimes the people who change your life don't come from fancy offices or prestigious schools. Sometimes they come from coffee shops, with worn-out shoes and $3 in their pocket. But they come with something money can't buy: a heart big enough to see the truth, courage strong enough to fight for it, and love powerful enough to heal what was broken. And that, my friends, is worth more than all the wealth in the world. If this story touched your heart, remember, you don't need a fancy title or a big bank account to make a difference. You just need to care enough to see people, really see them when everyone else looks away. Sometimes, that's all it takes to change a life. Thanks for your watching. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the Story Room for meaningful stories that inspire and teach life lessons.